The diner door exploded inward, the cowbell shattering against the frame. A little girl stumbled through, barefoot, her yellow sundress torn and streaked with dirt. Blood spotted her feet from the broken glass. "Please," she gasped, eyes wild with terror. "Someone! He's coming!" The lunch rush had ended. Only 5 people remained in the roadside diner off Route 9. Betty the owner, 2 truckers nursing cold coffee, and 3 bikers in the corner booth. Their leather vests bore the patch of the Iron Riders MC. Everything stopped. The lead biker, a man called Hawk, set down his fork. 50-something years of hard road had carved lines into his face, but his eyes stayed sharp. Beside him sat Jonesy, built like a freight train with a gray beard reaching his chest. The third, Cruz, had scars running down his forearm from a wreck 2 years back. The girl's gaze swept the room, then locked onto the bikers. Something in her expression shifted. Not relief exactly, but recognition. Like she'd found what she was looking for. "Miss, are you—" Betty started. "He's coming right now," the girl interrupted, shaking her head violently. "Please." Hawk stood slowly, his voice low and steady. "Who's coming?" "Mr. Garrett. He said nobody would believe me, that I'm just making things up." The door opened again. A man stepped inside, casual, controlled, khakis and a polo shirt, the kind of clean-cut appearance that screamed respectability. His smile was practiced, apologetic. Salt and pepper hair perfectly styled, wedding ring catching the fluorescent light. "There you are, Emma," he said, relief coating his words like honey. "Sweetheart, you had me so worried." The girl pressed herself against the counter. "No, no, no." The man's eyes swept the room before settling on Betty. "I'm so sorry for the disturbance. My daughter gets confused sometimes. She has episodes." Hawk didn't move, but his presence seemed to expand. "That right?" The man turned, extending a hand. "Richard Garrett. I'm a counselor at Riverside Elementary. Emma's been under my care at the school. She has some behavioral issues. Poor thing runs off when she gets overwhelmed." Nobody shook his hand. Jonesy shifted, suddenly alert. Cruz's fingers drummed once against the table, then went still. Emma's voice came barely above a whisper. "He's lying." Garrett's smile tightened. "Emma, please. We've talked about this. Making up stories doesn't help anyone." Betty looked between them, uncertain. "Sir, maybe we should call the school." "Call Principal Davies," Emma said urgently. "She knows me. She knows I don't lie." Garrett laughed, but something rang hollow. "Of course. Though school ended hours ago, Principal Davies has likely gone home." He took a step forward. "Come on, sweetheart. Your parents are worried sick." "My parents are in Seattle," Emma said, voice steadier now. "At my grandma's funeral. That's why you picked today." The air in the diner changed. Hawk's eyes narrowed. "Picked today for what?" Garrett's smile never wavered. "Look, I appreciate your concern, but this is a family matter." "I'm not his family," Emma interrupted. "I'm not anyone's family right now. That's the whole point." She looked at Hawk, words tumbling out fast. "He's been watching me all year, since my parents started working late. He offers to drive kids home, takes the ones nobody's watching." Her voice cracked. "He took Sarah Martinez 3 weeks ago. She didn't come back to school. Everyone said she moved, but she didn't. I saw her backpack in his car." The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Garrett's expression shifted. Just for a second, the mask slipped. What showed underneath was cold, calculating. Then it snapped back into place. "This is ridiculous. Emma, you're getting yourself into serious trouble with these accusations." Cruz stood, blocking the door. Not threatening, just present. Jonesy rose too, his voice like gravel. Seems like the kid's pretty specific for someone who's confused. Garrett's jaw tightened. I don't appreciate what you're insinuating. I'm a respected educator. I've worked with troubled children for 15 years. Then you won't mind us calling that principal, Hawk said. What was the name? Davies? Betty, you got your phone? Hawk's hand had moved to his belt, not to a weapon, just a position of readiness. Betty was already pulling it out, hands shaking. What's the school's name, honey? Riverside Elementary, Emma said. Please hurry. Garrett's composure cracked. This is harassment. I could have you all arrested for interfering with a guardian's rights. Guardian? Cruz spoke for the first time. Thought you said you were a counselor. Those are different things. Garrett's eyes flickered between the three bikers, calculating odds. His hand moved toward his pocket. Hawk moved faster. Not violent, just intercepting. His hand caught Garrett's wrist. Let's keep our hands where everyone can see them. Garrett tried to pull away. Get your hands off me. This is assault. Jonesy was there suddenly, his bulk making the space feel smaller. Funny thing is, you haven't shown any ID, haven't proven who you are. Kid says she's not yours. Seems like we got ourselves a situation. Betty's voice came from behind the counter. Hello? Yes. I'm looking for Principal Davies. It's urgent. About one of your students, Emma. She paused, listening. Her face went white. She is? Since when? Another pause. I see. Yes, I'll hold. What did she say? Emma's voice was barely audible. Betty covered the receiver. Principal Davies filed a missing child report this morning when Emma didn't show up for school and they couldn't reach her parents. They called the emergency contact, the counselor, Mr. Garrett, who said he'd drive by her house to check on her. The room went dead silent. Garrett's expression transformed. The practiced warmth evaporated, leaving something colder, harder. You people have no idea what you're doing. Pretty sure we do, Hawk said quietly, grip never loosening. Betty, tell the principal to call the police. Tell them we've got Emma and she's safe. Tell them to hurry. Already doing it. Garrett smiled then, and it was cruel. Empty. You think this matters? Think one little girl's word against mine means anything? I'm a pillar of this community. I counsel children. I sit on the school board. And you? He looked at the bikers with open disdain. You're nobody. Criminals, probably. You think anyone's going to believe you over me? Hawk's voice dropped lower, colder. Don't need them to believe me. Need them to believe her. And need them to look close enough to find what you've been hiding. Something flickered in Garrett's eyes. Emma spoke again, voice small but clear. He has a storage unit, number 42 at the facility by the highway. He doesn't know I saw the key. It fell out of his pocket during art class. I memorized the number because... Her voice broke. Because Sarah used to be my friend. The confession hung in the air like smoke. One of the truckers moved suddenly. I'm blocking the parking lot. Ain't nobody leaving till the cops show. The second trucker nodded. I'll help. Garrett lunged, surprising them with his speed. He broke Hawk's grip, shoving Emma backward. She stumbled, hitting the counter hard, but Cruz caught her. Garrett ran for the door. He made it 3 steps before Jonesy's arm caught him. The man went down hard, air knocked from his lungs. Hawk was on him immediately, knee in his back. Don't move, Garrett thrashed, shouting. This is assault. I'll sue every one of you. Right or wrong, Jonesy rumbled. You ain't going nowhere. Police are 2 minutes out, Betty called. Multiple units. Emma stood frozen, Cruz's hand steadying her shoulder. Tears finally came, not from fear now, but from something breaking loose inside. You did good, kid. Cruz said quietly. Real good. He said nobody would believe me, she whispered. He said I was nobody, that my parents left me, so it didn't matter. Hawk looked back at her, still pinning Garrett. You were wrong about one thing. Emma blinked through tears. You said you're not anyone's family right now. His voice softened slightly. Road takes care of its own. You ran to us for help. That makes you ours to protect. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Garrett had gone still, breathing hard. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. You don't understand. There are others, people who will... Then they can come find us, Jonesy said. No bravado, just fact. We'll be waiting. The police arrived in a storm of lights and sound. 4 cars, 2 detective units, officers flooding the diner. But through it all, the bikers stayed close to Emma, not speaking for her, not interfering, just present. A wall of leather and steel between a scared child and a world that had failed her. Detective Sarah Morrison took Emma's statement gently. Emma's voice strengthened as she talked, details pouring out that she'd held inside for months. How Garrett had isolated certain students, volunteered for after-school programs, offered rides, built trust. How he'd made her feel like speaking up would only cause trouble. Sarah Martinez, Emma said again, insistent. Storage Unit 42. Please, you have to check. She might still... Morrison nodded, already on her radio. We're sending units now. An hour later, when they broke the lock on Storage Unit 42, they found more than they'd prepared for. Sarah Martinez, alive, dehydrated, traumatized, but breathing. And documentation. Names, locations, a network that stretched beyond one man, beyond one town. The scope of it made the news vans arrive by sunset. Through it all, the bikers stayed. They gave their statements, endured skeptical looks from officers who saw the vests and made assumptions. But Morrison knew better. When Emma's parents finally arrived, having caught the first flight from Seattle, her mother collapsed to her knees in the parking lot, holding her daughter like she'd never let go. Her father stood behind them, tears streaming, unable to speak. Emma pulled back just enough to point at the bikers. They saved me. He was right there, and they didn't let him take me. Her father approached Hawk, hand extended, voice thick. Thank you. God, thank you. Hawk shook his hand once. Your daughter saved herself. She spoke up, remembered details, was brave enough to run. We just stood in the way. Still, Emma's mother said, wiping her eyes, you stood when you could have looked away. Jonesy shifted uncomfortably. What else were we going to do? Cruz smiled slightly. It's what we do. Road's got its own code. As the sun set, painting the sky orange and purple, Detective Morrison approached one more time. Storage unit had evidence of 17 victims, she said quietly. Some as far back as 5 years. Without Emma's testimony, without you keeping him here. She didn't finish, didn't need to. Hawk nodded once, silent. You know the defense attorney's going to try to paint you as the aggressors, Morrison continued. Garrett's already claiming intimidation, false imprisonment. Let him claim what he wants, Jonesy said. Truth is truth. Morrison smiled grimly. Yeah, and we've got diner security footage that tells the whole story, plus testimony from 6 witnesses. He's done. The bikers mounted their motorcycles as darkness fell. Emma stood with her parents, wrapped in her mother's arms, watching them prepare to leave. Wait, she called out. They paused. She ran over and pressed something into Hawk's hand. A drawing on the back of a diner napkin. 3 motorcycles, 3 riders, 1 small figure standing between them and a shadow. Above it, in careful letters, Heroes. Hawk looked at it for a long moment, then carefully folded it and tucked it into his vest pocket. You keep being brave, Emma. World needs more people like you. Will I see you again? He smiled, the expression softening his weathered face. Road's long, kid. Crosses paths more than you'd think. The engines roared to life. As they pulled onto the highway, Cruz looked back once at the diner, blazing with lights. You think she'll be okay? He asked over the comm. She spoke up when it mattered most, Hawk replied. That kind of strength doesn't disappear. Yeah, she'll be okay. Better than okay, Jonesy rumbled. Kid's got fire. They rode into the night, three shadows against the darkening sky. No destination, just following the white lines that stretched endlessly forward. Months later, Hawk received a letter. The postmark was local, the handwriting careful and deliberate. Inside, a photograph. Emma, standing between her parents at a community event, holding an award, the principal's medal for courage. Her smile was real, reaching her eyes. The note read, Dear Hawk, Jonesy, and Cruz. Because of what happened, they investigated the whole school district. They found 2 more people like Mr. Garrett. They're all going to prison for a really long time. Detective Morrison said I helped save 23 kids by speaking up. My parents got me a dog. Her name is Harley. Mom said I could pick any name I wanted. Thank you for standing when you could have sat. Thank you for listening when you could have ignored me. Thank you for believing me when he said nobody would. I'm going to be brave every day just like you taught me. Your friend, Emma P.S. I'm learning to ride a bicycle. Maybe someday I'll get a motorcycle too. Hawk read the letter twice, then passed it to Jonesy and Cruz. They sat in their usual booth at a different diner in a different town on a different stretch of endless highway. Kid's doing good, Cruz said, handing it back. Better than good, Jonesy agreed. Hawk carefully refolded the letter and tucked it into his vest right next to the napkin drawing. Road provided when she needed it. That's all that matters. Outside, their motorcycles waited, chrome gleaming in the afternoon sun. The highway stretched in both directions. Endless possibility, endless miles. Somewhere along its length, someone else might need help. Someone else might run to them, desperate and afraid. And when that moment came, they'd be ready. They paid their bill, left a generous tip, and walked out into the sunlight. The engines roared to life, a sound that spoke of freedom and purpose in equal measure. Where to, boss? Cruz asked over the comm. Hawk looked at the horizon where the road met the sky. Forward, always forward. And so they rode, 3 riders against the vastness, carrying with them the weight of one child's courage and the reminder that heroism wasn't about size or strength or fearlessness. It was about showing up, about standing between the vulnerable and those who would harm them, about believing the unbelievable and protecting the powerless. Emma had reminded them of that. A small girl with bare feet and a torn yellow dress running into a diner with nothing but desperation and hope. She'd chosen them, trusted them, believed they'd stand when she needed someone to stand. And they had. The miles stretched ahead, full of unknown tomorrows. But for now, 3 riders moved through the world, carrying proof that heroes came in all sizes, that courage could be found in the smallest hearts, and that sometimes the most important thing a person could do was simply refuse to look away. The road called. They answered. And somewhere behind them, a little girl named Emma was learning to be brave every single day.